What started as a lightning strike ended up as the Tartar Fire, a blaze that burned 158,000 acres in more than a week. In its wake, rangeland, the very livelihood that so many in Weiser depend on. It's gone, reduced to nothing. For ranchers in the area, many had to fight the fire on their own, digging fire lines, shoveling dirt on the fire, trying to protect the feed that's so crucial to their lives. They waited for relief, and finally resources from the U.S. Wildland Fire Service arrived. But as Cooper Morgan learned, tensions rose when ranchers, after a long day of putting fires out, heard that those firefighters had intentionally lit fires to the same property they were trying to protect.
Burnt hillsides and charred fence is what's left of the Chandler's ranch.
When I was born, this is where we were at, and I've lived here my whole life.
Kirk Chandler stood by it as the Tartar Fire blazed over the land.
You know, if you're the third one to call or the second one to call for help, they're not available. And so you just have to take care of yourself.
That means protecting his own cattle, sheep, and his own land. But he didn't just lose those things to the fire. He says he lost them to a backburn he and other landowners never agreed to.
The next morning to go up there and see all of them up there, those same crews lighting fires and burning up what you had saved the day before is arson. It's just flat arson.
His family and a group of neighbors had spent the weekend cutting lines and shoveling dirt.
The days run together because we worked night and day and all day the next day and into the night the next night.
When in the wee hours of Monday morning, he got a call.
The neighbor called and said that they were in there around his house setting fire to his place.
He rushed over to find crews, U.S. Wildland Fire Service trucks.
They were lighting a fire, and the closest fire was probably 4 miles to the north. So thousands and thousands of acres between where they were lighting the fire and where the fire was burning.
Who also was there? Washington County Sheriff Matt Thomas.
The sheriff told him to stop lighting fires, and he told them no, and finally he said, "I will arrest you."
Thomas confirmed this in a statement to KTVB, that he was there and the fire crews were on private property. He also said that what fire crews were doing is considered third-degree arson under Idaho statute, but the damage was already done.
And we went out, one guy was lighting it, we went out and stopped him, and he just walked off and left the fire he just lit burn.
The blare of calves crying out for their mamas months earlier than usual.
At least 2 months early weaning, because there's nothing for them to eat out there.
Tristan Weiniger says it's all because of the Tartar Fire.
We lost all of our fences, we lost stock water, we lost cattle, we lost quite a few cattle.
He says ranchers held down the line, putting out the flames.
And those fires are relit. That is, it is heart-wrenching, because all that grass that we worked so hard to save goes up in flames. And I mean, it's difficult to watch.
On top of that, the hay they hope to sell now has to stay here just to keep cattle alive.
We need firefighters, but we need them to come and help us fight fire. That's the most important thing.
Frank Carroll spent decades working for U.S. Forest Service as a hotshot squad boss, spent 11 years fighting fires centered in the Boise National Forest, and now is vice president of the National Wildfire Alliance. He says a backburn is just one tactic that firefighters can and have used in the past.
It's a Hail Mary deal where the fire's coming at you and you light up the area in front of you to try to create a big enough fire to suck into the fire that's coming at you so that when they come together, it puts them out.
But today he sees tactics used that are much larger in scale and effect.
We also call that big boxing and burning. So they draw a big box around the fire and then they burn it.
He says there's a statutory void when fighting fire.
There's literally no break on the machine once it gets rolling.
No clear laws telling federal firefighters when they can't light new fires, even on or toward private land.
Come in and they start lighting these massive firing operations to meet their own objectives. And many times that conflicts directly with what the ranchers are trying to do, which is protect their feed.
Sheriff Thomas echoed the need for change in how the country fights fires. He says burning it all for the sake of making it black is a major problem. For Weiniger, a charred fence now splits what little went untouched.
It is not them versus the fire, and it's not us versus the fire, it's all of us.
And for Chandler, he wants real change and accountability.
I mean, if you go in and arson somebody's property, they should be investigated and held accountable.
Now, those ranchers also told me that it will take months and months as all their fall feed and a lot of their winter feed burned. They'll have to feed cattle with hay that they would otherwise sell. We reached out to the crew in charge of the Tartar Fire. The incident command team wrote to us in part, quote, "We have been working closely with local landowners and ranchers to conduct wildfire suppression efforts through dedicated liaison officers and division supervisors. We have established clear, direct communication to coordinate operations and share information. We all share the same goal, suppressing the fire as safely and quickly as possible." The team also said they appreciated all of the support and kindness shown to them by everyone they have interacted with during their time in Idaho. We also reached out to the U.S. Wildland Fire Service for their side of the story and what happened in Washington County, but we haven't heard back from them. But Hunter, it's just kind of a tough situation within a really tough situation.
Right, because, you know, backburning is something that we hear so often, right? And so, okay, fight fire with fire, but at the same point is, yeah, where is too far on this?
Exactly, and this is their livelihood, right? All this feed is just like, it may look like grass to maybe us normal people, but
right.
It's so crucial to how their business and how their lives work throughout the seasons.
Yeah, and the more acres you hear on these fires too, the more feed could be lost in these. Even if it's not structures, it could be feed. All right, Cooper, thank you.